This third season of the 2023 Full Send Sims Esports iRacing Spec Miata Championship continues its tour of the Grand Dames of North American road racing venues tonight with a switch of not just circuit, but concept. Last week, we were at Sebring, a track that gave the United States global recognition in the world of road racing by following one trend in Europe of racing on airport circuits. Tonight, we move to one of the earliest versions of the U.S. embracing another form of road racing, the natural terrain permanent road course. And to many, it is North America's premier example. But history aside, likely of far more importance to our competitors tonight, we move from the notorious vicious bumps of America's Silverstone to the billiard table smooth surface of America's Nürburgring. Hi folks, I'm Greg Creamer, and welcome to tonight's fourth round of the series' third season at the track whose official slogan is America's National Park of Speed, the fabulous Road America. I'm delighted as always to have Kyle Heyer joining me tonight on the call. And Kyle, due to both the size and speed of this venue, it can seem at times downright monstrous.
Well, Greg, through the trees, I hear a rumbling, and it is the Jurassic Park of motorsports. This is Road America, one of the fastest, one of the largest tracks in North American road racing. It is so fast around here, and the consequences are extreme if you get it just a little bit wrong. But it retains that classic feel, big braking zones, long straightaways, and in some areas, it's extraordinarily narrow when you go off course. So it is just one of the greatest tests of fortitude when it comes to racing, especially in these Spec Miatas when you're packed up and paired up, running side by side down these long straights.
Yeah, people don't often think about the fact that, it's very hard, on fuel, but it's tremendously hard on brakes because you're constantly coming from the highest potential speed of any vehicle into some pretty slow braking zones. But then there are the corners that you're talking about where you have to flow huge amounts of speed. And it's a real gut check to get through there and get them done well. But this is a track you always think, Kyle, about the long straightaways here, and it's all about power. But in reality here, if a driver can get through turns like turn 1, through turn 3, especially through the carousel and the kink, with a little bit more speed than anybody else, you can make up for that deficit. So, a lot of people think, well, this isn't a track that really demands much. It does demand, as my dear friend David Hobbs would say, large attachments to really put a fast lap around here together.
Yeah, Tom O'Gorman tells me this is a tale of two racetracks, right? You really, from turn 1 to turn 5, you're carrying so much speed. You're in the throttle almost the entire time. But when you get to turn 5, things change a little bit. From turns 5 down to really where the carousel is, that's a handling section, and you're going to have to carry a lot of momentum through there. Despite it still being fast, it is a handling portion. Then you get down into the kink in Canada corner again. That's a very fast section of racetrack, and the wiggle of Bill Mitchell Bend in a faster car, that's a really scary corner. But in the Miatas, it'll be flat pretty easy through there. Turn 14, though, pretty critical to set that up for that rundown up, I should say up the front straightaway with that climb to the start finish. And I think everyone's going to set that up for that last run on the white flag lap. 14 is your last opportunity, so you have to make it count.
Absolutely. You can see the elevation here as well. And what that points to is look at the drop into 5. Look at the drop into 8. That's some really tricky downhill braking zones that are really crucial. Turn 6, to me, one of the trickiest corners in North America, and then just the speed and the swoops, as you pointed out, of some of the other places. And you're right, Billy Mitchell corner, when the bridge was there in particular, that place was really intimidating. It's gone now, but they still have the blind turn in. And this place is just downright special. There's no other way to put it here. And we are early in qualifying. And a guy named Camden Hibbett ended up, along with Jorge Ortiz, a couple of the newer drivers to our championship, top the practice session. Now it's time to find out what's going to happen in quali.
Yeah, just about 7 minutes remaining here in qualifying. Camden Hibbett was on top of the board for a bit, but he is third now. Joshua Soto, you see him rolling off pit lane, currently the provisional pole sitter, but only 14 cars have scored times. They were given some extra time here in qualifying to get times in, and you can see why that's important. Last week with our 10-minute qualifying time, we would be basically done in a minute, and about a third of the field is the only part of the field that's actually gotten the time in the books. Just getting an off track or just not getting out in time has meant that most of the field has yet to score any time.
Well, this track is so long, so I mean that makes absolute sense. Give everybody just add a little time to the qualifying session to make sure everybody gets out. Oh, that is the is that Caleb Pocock running? What? No, that was not Caleb. There's Caleb right there in that beautiful car, but somebody had ran wide into the exit at turn 12 or Canada corner. So named by I think somebody back in the day said you're going so fast that if you miss that corner and get it wrong, you could end up in Canada. And that is in a high downforce, high power car. That is without question the fastest part of the track. But what, when we were looking at that track map, Kyle, one thing I wanted to point out was, really there are 3 hugely critical corners here, aren't there? You mentioned 14, but 3. Which leads all the way into that long run down the moraine sweep, and then the carousel, because the kink's essentially flat through Kettle Bottoms, all really long, high-speed areas. So you get one of those 3 corners wrong, you're struggling.
Yeah, and the carousel in particular in these cars, we're really in throttle almost the entire time around it, trying to build speed on the run down to the kink. And this is a scary corner for a lot of reasons. It hasn't really changed much since 1955 when the track was built. And it's just one of those places that even in a Miata, you might be pretty close to flat, but a lot of drivers, especially the first couple laps, are going to be lifting just because it takes a lot of confidence to go through their flat. And even if you can go through their flat, you have to get the line right. It's very particular about being on the right groove, especially with the repave. It's not modeled yet here in iRacing, but I've heard that the repave has made that even more single file than it was previously. Something about the way the track is cambered now with that new pavement. So something to consider when we get north of 30 cars, almost close to 40 under green here in just a couple minutes.
That's a really good point. And, they call it the kink. It is a corner, folks. There's no question about it. And what makes it such a diabolical place is the exit. You go off there, there's maybe 10 feet, and then you're hitting concrete. And it's such a fast section of track. So like so many of these great old school tracks, there are spots here where there's tons of runoff, but there are other spots, a lot of them when you're dealing with severe speeds, where you've got to thread that needle. You've got to drive with a lot of precision. And watching Court here going through turn 6, really tricky corner, that uphill, right as it starts to flatten out is when you want to get on the brakes. If you brake too soon, you're just slow all the way down to the braking zone here at 8. And if you overcharge it and get it wrong, you lock up or you just skate right off the outside. It is a tricky corner, and one that when you get it right is kind of the corners of your mouth curl upward a little bit as you think, yeah, finally.
And then let's just ride on board, listen. Court's back on throttle now, and he's not going to lift until Canada corner, unless he's on an outlap here, in which case he might have to. But right here, just a little lift just to get the rotation. And then he's back on throttle all the way down to Canada corner. You're just carrying so much speed. And in the Miata, you're not, the number of his speed isn't all that high, but as far as your general pace, it's about as fast as this car is going to go, north of 120 miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, is everything, you're getting everything out of this car that it could possibly deliver. No question about that. And, one of the things with that, confidence lift, if you will, in certain scenarios, I know when I actually raced there in a front wheel drive back in the day in a really quick in its class, bit of an overshoot there, Honda CRX. If I could go through it flat, but it sort of put this little wobble into the car, that it scrubs speed. And I found that if I just right before I turned in, if I just breathed it, got a little weight on the nose, then I could go aggressively to throttle. I just whip around the corner, and it eliminated that sort of porpoising, if you will, and my exit speeds were better. So it all depends on the car, the setup, and the like, and driving style, certainly.
One of the things we won't have to talk a whole lot about tonight is track limits here. They're pretty self-policing. The exit of 5 gives you a little bit of pavement, but if you run off there, you will get an iRacing off-track. Basically, every off-track area here that you can go wide has really wildly detailed rumble strips. So if you go off track, that's fair game. You're not out of bounds just yet. If you go off into the pavement, you will be out of bounds, but there's no point in these 90-degree turns that running out so wide is going to help you very much. I don't really see much advantage to it. I don't foresee it being much of a problem. This place will bite you if you step beyond its bounds and disrespect it, especially the exit of turn 1 and the run down to 3. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen everyone make it through turn 1 and then crash right here on the funnel down to turn 3.
Well, everybody's thinking, get that run, right? Because maybe I could do something down in 5, and 3 is such a crucial corner. You've got to roll some decent speed, and so the aggression level pops up a little bit sooner than we might like, certainly, as we're watching Joshua Soto continues to be on top of things here as we're underneath a minute to go in this session at a 2:43.6. Jordan Rixagrini second at a 2:43.7. So as you often see here, this is a long track, but when we've raced here before in this series, the times are incredibly close. And these cars just really can roll some speed around here. We have so many really stout drivers that are running with us here. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we do. There's looks like 10 drivers within a second, which when your lap is almost 3 minutes, that's pretty close. And
that's
also
incredible. Yeah.
Something to consider is that there's 38 drivers here in the session, and 10 of them have not even scored a single lap time, and they will have to start at the tail of the field, whether it be, as Morgan Burkhardt late goes to the top of the board by 0.7 of a second, not even close.
Oh, well, he just ruined our whole scenario, didn't he?
He's getting really good at that. But he's going to be tough to beat. He was tough to beat last year, or I guess last season that we were here. So Morgan Burkhardt will be one to watch, but just it's a tough racetrack. 10 drivers of the 38 that qualified did not even score a time in 15 minutes of qualifying. It's just so long, and if you make a mistake, it takes you almost 6 minutes to complete another lap.
Yeah, and that's the problem, obviously, is if you get something wrong, if you have to limp around to the pits or whatever, it's pretty crucial. We rode on board there for a little bit in that with Court Schmidt. Want to say a big thank you to Court and Full Send Sims. He was the guy that envisioned this idea for this series, and they built just some incredible sims. And if you're looking to get one, please think about Full Send Sims. They have just incredible product in every price range. Court developed all of his training in building sims, building military sims, and he also races in real-world racing, so he gets what it's all about. As we have a look there, Court, check in at fullsendsims.com if you're looking for a sim. No question about that. Also, big thank you to our presenting sponsors, Final Turn Motorsports, owner Rob Greenwood, Full Service Prep Shop, Miata Trandy Builder, driver development from licensing all the way to pro level if you take it that far, and of course 3P Logistics. Owner is Frank Rodriguez, great guy as well, and they do logistical support. They'll take care of everything for you. They tailor your trackside support to your needs, and they also will do race car storage for you as well in between events. So all kinds of opportunities here. We have more things we're going to be chatting about here, but it looks like we are getting really close to lining this one up and getting going here. As we come into this, though, do want to mention Morgan Burkhardt leads Caleb Patry by only 7 points here. Nicholas Rice-Puto, only one more back. Beans Forrester, only one more back. Josh Soto, 5 more back. So points are pretty close here. And we've still got, remember, 2 more races this year than in previous seasons, going from 8 to 10, and you could toss a couple out. This championship is still on.
It very much is, but Caleb Patry's got work to do. He will start in row number 5. That's a lot of movement that he's going to have to make, but I don't think it's impossible here. We're going to see a bit of pack racing tonight as well. I think you got to establish your pack and try to run away as everyone else establishes theirs. It's very easy to get in a click and then kind of lose the train as it thunders away from you. But we got 4 miles of pace lap here, Greg. Let's kick things off with the starting lineup. Greg, you can take things away with that first row.
All right, and that is going to feature on pole once again Morgan Burkhardt in the number 40. He's joined by Joshua Soto, who has been so impressive here this season in the number 77.
Row 2, Jordan Rixagrini in the number 108. Nicholas Rice-Puto starts 4th in the number 30 car.
Next up in the 5th spot, the number 62 of Olivier Piatek and Camden Hibbett in the number 132.
And in row 4, it's Gianni Morrow in the number 29. Beans Forster will have an onboard camera with him. He starts 8th in the 23.
Starting 9th will be the 998 of Caleb Patry. You were talking about back in that 5th row, joined by Noah Jackson, newcomer to the championship, in the number 14.
And Dean Dibdahl starts 11th in the number 99. And Skip Brock Jr. rolls off 12th in the 32 car.
Starting 13th, the man himself, Kurt Schmidt, the number 172, joined by Cam Eben, another newcomer in the 155.
Oh, Cam's going to be good. I'm familiar with him, familiar with his name in Mazda Racing here in iRacing. He'll be one to watch. Noah Rosser starts 15th in the number 31. Mike Schmidt rolls off 16th in the 531.
Starting 17th, the 89 of Jim Friedhofer, and Jean Reyes in the number 21 starts 18th.
19th place, Jordan Butler in the number 72, and Seth Spolman rolls off 20th in the 042. We've had an engine expire in the background on the pace lap there, Greg.
We sure did. Just a big plume of smoke back there. Starting 21st, the number 10 of Scott Conrad. I think he's a newbie with us. Joined by the number 80, starting 22nd, of Andrew Wozencroft.
And Charles Vaccaro starts 23rd in the 221 car. Carson Neal rolls off 24th in the 117.
Starting in the 25th spot, the number 20 of Deacon Greenfield, joined by Rich Green, starting 26th aboard the number 22.
And 27th, Luis Molares in the number 08. Wayne Buttermore rolls off 28th in the 73.
Starting 29th, the 311 of Jorge Ortiz. Well, this is a big surprise because Jorge was second in the practice session, but didn't get out in qualifying. And joining him, starting 30th in the 98, is Max Schweid.
And 31st, Caleb Pocock in the number 66. Eric Hewo starts 32nd in the 34. And Greg, it was the 33 of Christian Rice-Spudo who blew that motor on the opening pace lap there.
That'll be gutting for him, obviously. And then starting 34th, the number 28 will be Dave Brown.
And 35th place is Jose de la Casas in the number 3. Max Bankin starts 36th in the 00.
Starting 37th to 56th of Felix Borodati. And Leonardo Escorpioni will start in the 38th spot, driving the 916.
And that is your grid. It is, I think, the largest one we've ever had. 38 cars. And it's a little bit of a luck of the draw because I think it's safe to say that not all 38 are going to finish. So you have to wonder, where's the drama going to be? It was on the last lap in race 1, the last time we were here, and it was amongst the lead group. There was a crash coming to the checkers. Where will it be? Almost like Daytona or Talladega. There's bound to be a big one at a place that's this fast with this big of a pack, Greg, but you just hope you can make it through 20 minutes or 8 laps of racing here at Road America.
Yeah, this is a huge field, but it's a long track, so it can hold them, but as you pointed out, it's also wicked quick. So anything goes wrong in the middle of the pack, everything can go awry. Here we go. Morgan Burkhardt leading him up as we get ready to go for our first of 2 races here at Road America. Watch for it. We're green. And let's see who's able to make it work. There's such a long run here down into turn 1. A draft can come into play. One car way off in the grass. Please join safely. He's trying to, not getting a lot of help there, but nobody has to do that necessarily. But it looks like Soto from the outside. I thought he might be able to ramp the outside, but Burkhardt just carried too much speed in. He leads.
So far, so good. Everybody through turn 1. There's one car on the inside. I think that's the 13. I think that's pulling off to the side, or the 73 rather, Wayne Buttermore, down into turn 3, your first major passing opportunity after 1, and now you're just getting in single file to set yourself up for the run to turn 5, but it's Burkhardt and Rick Singrini, the teammates, out front right now.
Yeah, you can see Rick Singrini got a great run on the inside of Soto going into 1, got there, and Olivier Piatek just followed him through. He's up into 3rd, but now here comes Soto on the rebound. Piatek moving over, and I think his thing was, well, I'm making a pass here. I'm not trying to block. 3 abreast in the braking zone for 5. That rarely ends well. And we have a spin right in front of the field. Well, fortunately, maybe only a couple of cars involved, a couple more now in the background. But up front, we continue.
Yeah, I didn't exactly get a look. It was the 14 was the first car that kind of triggered that whole thing. Let's see if we can quickly go back and get a look at it. Oh, he just tags the, what car was that? Take a look at it again in slow motion to get a better look at it, but he just was way late. It's the 29 car of Gianni Mauro. It comes in from a long ways back here. Greg just misses his braking point and just drills the back of the 29.
Yeah, it snapped him around, then the nose came around and clocked the 14 of Noah Jackson again, got him a little bit airborne. And that's one of the things, when you make a pass and you're that far away from the car you're passing, they can't see in the mirrors, they have no clue you're there, but that really wouldn't have made a difference in that case because Mauro had already turned in, and as you said, just got in a little hot. But up front, everybody at this stage in that top group of 10 or so looking pretty solid. First time through the kink at speed, and you can see, man, the speed you carry there, pretty substantial.
Morgan Burkhardt has a 9/10 of a second lead. That's a dangerous lead for everybody else, because if he breaks too much further away, he's out of drafting distance, and I don't think anyone wants to leave Morgan Burkhardt in an area where he can just drive away. But Jordan Rixingrini did close in slightly, 0.2 of a second from Canada, or from the kink down to Canada corner. So we'll see if he can keep that distance as they head up onto the front straightaway. Then it's Rice Budo, Piatek, and Soto, the rest of your top 5, and Beans Forster rides in 6th.
Yeah, and Soto was looking really aggressive as we're on board with Beans here. Really aggressive. He still is on the back of Piatek. Yeah, he gave him a look even into Billy Mitchell. Now he's going to make the move, and immediately Beans says, that's cool. I'm going to fill that gap. Now you could easily see these two make the move, slide by a little bit farther on Soto. Soto's going to try and out deep him down into 1. He makes it work on Beans, but Piatek hangs on to that 4th spot. But all that side-by-side battling, look what it's done as Burkhardt, Rixingrini, Rice Budo have that margin now.
And look at Caleb Patry up the inside of Skip Brock Jr., made short work of the 32, promotes himself up to 7th place, and his progress is just beginning. About a lap and a half into this race. But Rixingrini is reeling Morgan back in slightly, and that's dragging Rice Budo with him. So the two teammates might have the advantage, but they have a third wild card in the mix, and that's Nicholas Rice Budo.
And here comes Soto again now, down into 5. He's going to try and get to the inside of Piatek. Piatek opened that up quite a bit and let him through. Now he's trying to square up the exit, get a better run. But Soto did a nice job there. And I would suspect here, Kyle, Beans Forrester and Caleb Patry have run each other very often. They've raced each other a lot. I would think they are going to just try and run line astern and try and run that pack down up front. Ooh, look at this, side by side, almost 3 wide up into turn 6. That's tough to do. And our friend Noah Jackson right in the middle of that again here. Little touch there. And now sweeping through turn number 7. I think that was Jorge Ortiz that he may have been up next to there.
Yeah, up from 29th, and here he comes up the inside, late move into turn 8, and gets it done. Nicely done for Jorge Ortiz, but he's just on a mission. Made up half the field so far.
Yeah, it's incredible. 29th now is where he started, and has himself incredibly, as you said, well up the order into 15th, and riding on board here with Caleb Pocock, and he is right on the back of Mike Schmidt in that green and orange Mazda. Here's a ride to the kink for you, folks. Enjoy this.
Whew. You can see the suspension squatting, and then here's a look on board the rear of Mike Schmidt. You can see the rig he's got. But both drivers engaged in this battle for 19th place. Look at the cars dive on the brakes. There's smoke ahead of them.
Ooh.
Somebody's off in the gravel there, and there's a handful of cars.
Yep. Oh, and there's the damage. Is that Eric Haywo?
It is, and I think there's more that came with them. Let's have a look at it. Ooh, got together on the run into Canada corner. I think that was the 311.
Yeah, Jorge.
Oh, man.
Ooh, that was a big hit.
Yes.
Jorge was able to get going again relatively quickly, but is going to have lost a lot of that ground he had worked so hard to make up.
Yeah, so he just looks to the left here and has some overlap, and then they just kind of run each other out of room. They both went sliding into the gravel.
Yeah, you almost wonder if Haywo was trying to open it up a little bit to swing into Canada and didn't realize that he was there. And that happens. It's just one of the deals here. But boy, look at it. And as Beans Forrester has plummeted down the order, he's now back in 8th.
Yeah, last time by was about a second and a half off the pace, so might have had a slip up or something, but that's going to allow Camden Hibbett to have a run to the outside. I was going to make a point about Canada corner. That runoff down there might look pretty reasonably large in iRacing. I can promise you it feels so tiny when you're driving it. It's the first racetrack I ever got a chance to drive on was Road America, and when you go down there into Canada corner, you are acutely aware of how little space there is once you go off at that corner.
Well, I was talking earlier about running the ITA CRX many years ago there, and I had a brake failure going into Canada corner, and it was the biggest heart in my throat moment I have ever had in a racetrack. And I missed literally getting into the wall. I angled past the tire barriers, so if I would have hit, it would have been concrete, and I missed hitting it by about 3 feet. It was not a fun moment there. But boy, Burkhardt and Rixingrini doing a nice job. Have opened that margin up now back to Nicholas Rice Budo by about 0.4 here. he needs some help. And Soto now around Olivier Piatek. We'll see if he's going to be able to run them down and work with Nicholas here to get after it. Piatek might be in that play still.
Yeah, Soto last time by was about 0.7 of a second slower than Rice-Budo. Rice-Budo's well in the draft of those front two, and Soto's got no assistance. So it's really up to Piatek to give Soto a shove and help each other work forward. I don't think that they're going to run each other down. The draft here is just too strong. So if you're Rice-Budo and you just get hooked to the back of this train up front, it's going to be tough to run you down. And here's Forster chasing Skip Rock Jr. for 7th and Camden Hibbett back to 9th, though those two have traded spots once again.
Yeah, and I wonder, I remember we had Caleb and Beans were running pretty much line astern, and I wonder if in an attempt to do a little bump drafting if something didn't go wrong, and that's what caused them a little bit of time. You see Camden there, love that big look in his mirror. And looking over at the side here to see who might be coming up along the outside, and that would be Court Schmidt. But Court right now just a little bit farther back, so Camden, he can just focus his eyes forward and get after that pack in front of him, which is Beans and Skip. And there they are.
Nice line.
Looks like Caleb is really, is having some real problems with connection right now.
Yeah, there's a couple drivers that are having that. We saw this last week as well, but I haven't seen this iRacing wide, so it must be their specific internet connectivity. Yeah, it's not something I've seen across the service. It certainly can be. I've seen that happen before. But here's Rickson, Greeny, Burkhardt. Now they've kind of tapped out. They're pushing as hard as they can, but Rice-Budo is closing, and Soto made up 0.6 that time on this front group, so he's now back in the mix, and Piatek's in drafting distance, so that 3-horse race for first place is now 5 in a line here.
And interestingly, down into turn 5, you're far more of an expert on iRacing. That entry to 5, you can swing to the outside of that curb and get away with it in terms of any kind of slowdown penalty. Huh? Look at this pack coming in.
Yeah, you do get an off-track penalty if you go half off the rumble, so the 80 would get an off-track penalty there. If you go 4 tires off, it will give you a slowdown, but you have to be, that's pretty wide. I don't know that there's much advantage out there beyond that. And that's actually one of the areas that I'm not sure this is this is a great battle, by the way. We should keep an eye on this, but
phenomenal.
When Road America, that outside rumble strip was raised off the ground and it sent some Formula cars flying. So in the repave project, Road America addressed that and they sunk those curbs into the ground. So they redid all those with the opposite style curbing that's kind of sunken into the road versus raised above it, and that way there's still rumble strip out there, but you're not going to launch cars, which was a big criticism after a couple cars took some flight back there.
Yeah, it just seems to me that they are really opening that up, and I can see the value to it. If you don't run wide then on the exit, you just open that angle up a little bit, but it's a long way to go as well in terms of distance here. But I'll tell you, Andrew Wozencroft here attacking on Spolman, has Noah Jackson behind him, and the black number 14 who's had an eventful go already, and Max Schweid coming up, going side by side with Noah here, and looks like Max with that draft. Oh, and a big moment here. Seth Spolman, I don't know if he got tapped or if that was on his own. But, man, you see Andrew Wozencroft just square that corner off.
Yeah, I think he got watched the 80.
He grazed him?
I think he outbraked himself and then dove to the right to avoid hitting him. It just snagged him in the rear bumper and sent him for a ride.
Oh, what a shame. As he had been, Seth had been, again, in the middle of a really solid race. And then having something coming through. Whoa. Rickson Greeny running it way wide. And that's going to open up opportunity for Soto here. They head down into turn 3, and now can he get these through?
Yeah, Soto
wasted no time with that.
Soto made a little mistake here on the entry down to turn 3. Watch the left side tires here. Right here, drops the left sides and gets that left rear tire in the dirt, and it just puts him offline just enough that it cost him a little bit of time. But Rickson, Greeny, and Burkhardt still stay nose to tail. Rice-Budo stays 4th. There was a bump draft from Rickson Greeny really late on that run down into 5.
Great run here. Now watch how tricky this corner is, folks. If you get that wrong, you're just straight off. And if you brake a little too soon, you just lose touch here. That was absolutely spot on by Nicholas Rice-Puto here. And Piatek, and he is throwing everything he can at it here, trying to catch these guys. And he actually ran a quicker lap that time, as you would expect from the Nicholas Rice-Puto, because of that off. But he hasn't gained anywhere near as much as he really needs to really start to get a pull there.
Yeah, he's doing a good job, but he's about 0.6 back, which is about a half a second closer than he was last time by, and that's really the critical piece. The draft increases in effect the closer you get to the car ahead, so it'll only get better from here on out. But you mentioned turn 6. That's a turn that you really have to turn in before you can even see the corner. If you are waiting to see the corner to turn in, you've missed your apex. It's just
absolutely
a really challenging corner. You brought up that it's the most challenging. I would not disagree one bit. It's just blind and flat, and there's just not much room for error on the turn-in portion of that corner.
I was going to ask you another question here, relative to iRacing. We see Rice-Puto is cutting in and out every once in a while. When that car blinks out, does the car behind, in this case Piatek, does he lose any of the draft?
Yes, and that can also be a challenge, right? It's usually not for long enough that it would cause a significant effect, as Rice-Puto's not going to wait around anymore, but it can certainly be, it's more of a distraction than it is anything else. If he were to disappear for a couple seconds, then the draft would really start to be affected, but really it's just distracting to look and see that out the windshield. But here comes Soto up the inside of Rick Singrini.
Going after him here, and I'll tell you, Morgan Burkhardt got a tremendous run through Billy Mitchell and up through 14 and opened that gap up just a little bit. Is Soto going to be? He does. Smart move there, really, by Jordan Rick-Singrini to say, look, I'm going to tuck in if we continue. Oh, and then you can see Soto runs wide and manages to hang in there. I thought maybe Rick-Singrini would try and get underneath him and get back after it here. But the key is you just don't want to see Morgan get away here and quit battling, and I think that's what Rick Singrini said. Yep, I'll let Joshua through. We just got to make sure we get back up to Morgan Burkhardt.
Now the question is, what does Rick Singrini do? Is he going to stay in line here, or is he going to try to put himself back ahead of Soto? Because Soto is not a teammate with Morgan Burkhardt. He's got no incentive to sit behind the 40. Oh, really late into the turn 5. They are really using that right side of the road there. It's not even something that you would see in prototypes either. I've done a bunch of broadcasts here, and I've never really seen drivers use that outside area. I'll bet the suspension's soft enough in these cars that really there's not much of a disadvantage in running over those rumble strips, something you wouldn't get away with in an LMP2 car, for example.
Right, but one of the things is they get those right side tires so far past that curbing.
They're on the pavement.
They're on. They've got pretty good plant over there, and so it really will open the arc up into that turn. So, I suppose they wouldn't keep doing it if it wasn't quick, would they? So, it's pretty impressive here. But man, look at Burkhardt. And the problem with Morgan is, relative to the other drivers, Kyle, we've seen this so often, is when he gets a little gap like this, the drivers, he just isn't mistake prone. So the other drivers really then have to dig super deep to try and get back up to him here. And, they're giving it their best right now. That margin, about a half a second. Morgan back to Soto.
Yeah, we talked about this last week. When you have this much success, you become a target. And it's not because nobody likes you, it's just that you're the one that's beating them. So they're going to do everything in their power, work together with people that they wouldn't normally work together with just to defeat you, right? So he's a victim of his own success in a way, right? When we get to the tail end of this race, the only friend he's going to have is his teammate in Jordan Rick Singrini. Everybody else is going to be working as hard against him as anybody else on the racetrack. They're not going to cut him any breaks. Even though he races respectfully, Morgan's going to have a tough finish of this race unless he maintains this 0.6 of a second gap, which he's done pretty much since the drop of the green flag, save for his teammate trailing him a couple laps ago.
Oh, yeah, and speaking of teammate, here comes Jordan. I think he's thinking exactly what you're talking about. And I think what might be motivating Jordan here was if we get a moment here, once this pass is complete, to go back to the turn-in as Rick Singrini slides through the turn-in of this group. Soto really had a much more angular turn into 14, and you can see Burkhardt gapped him just a little bit. Watch it here. Yeah, see that? See where, and watch Morgan through there, and you can see how much ground Rick Singrini made up on Soto, and I think he realized, I got to get through on him. because I can roll more speed through 14. And Soto really seems to be squaring it up. See that?
Yeah, but he didn't quite get down to the apex, and it cost him a bit of time.
Yeah.
You have to really use all the road there in 14.
Yeah, you do.
It's pretty flat. And, wow, look at them running. Oh, that's going to open up the door, though. That's what actually did Soto. Oh, he's way off now. Was he making a pass out there? That seemed like he was on the offense here, but it might work if he can cling to the outside of 6, but he can't.
It looked like he wasn't. Piatek trying to get the nose underneath Rice Puto, but couldn't quite get that done. Yeah, let's go back and watch this.
Yeah, so Soto sees the door open to the right. He's going to get some overlap here, gets a bit of a push from the 30, and then he's alongside. Jordan kind of moves over, and he just escapes to the off-track area, but maintained that line even through the grass, kept the foot in it, almost had him.
Almost had him. And again, that bunched up Rice Puto and Piatek, and they started to have their own little battle here. But look what all of this has done. Look at Burkhardt. He is just setting sail here. You know, we've got, what, this and one more lap?
It looks like it. Next time by, white flag. So Morgan's in a really good spot. And Jordan is just in drafting distance, but it's going to take him the better part of a lap to even eat a half a second of that out. So that's pretty important. Meanwhile, behind them, Caleb Patry, Forster, and Skip Brock Jr. in a 3-car battle here.
I was going to say, this is as good as the battle up front. Brock thinks about it. Just can't roll enough speed to get down to the inside. And the problem is you get there, then Patry would probably just be gone at this point. I have a feeling this last lap for these 3 and for those 5 up front could be absolutely insane. As Wozencroft lips into the picks, but look at that margin for Burkhardt right now, 1.2 seconds.
And I think Jordan Rick-Singrini being in second, the battle helped, but Jordan now staying here, he's got no motivation to go run down the 40, right? He's just going to play defense here, play rear gunner for the 40, and Soto is just going to have to run with it. Second might be the best he can accomplish here, but he's going to give it all he's got.
Oh, you know that, and you can be sure Rice Puto and Piatek, if they sense any kind of opening. I'll tell you what, because of the shenanigans that these guys are playing behind Burkhardt, that Patry, Forster, Brock group has closed in. I don't think they're ever going to get quite close enough to get in the mix, but it is a good one here. And Beans has gone around on Skip Brock there. So this is going to be pretty fierce here.
Whoa, Skip Brock threw it down there into turn 3.
He did.
Trying to earn some time back, just didn't quite get the rotation he needed out of the car.
And then you see what happens there. You miss that apex, and there you go. Look at this. Soto now getting attacked by Rice Puto.
This is going to get good.
Yeah.
Breaking duel into 5. Who's got the better right foot? Oh, the 30's going to be wide here.
He is. Oh, he just got in a little too deep, didn't he?
Patry, Forster, still 6th and 7th. And look at Piatek up the inside of Soto, going for podium here.
Big lunge,
and boy,
there's a touch. Soto's going to try and dive to the inside of 7. That is sketchy territory here. Now, Piatek, if he stays put, he's got the right line into turn 8. And Soto, is he going to try and do the outside sweep? Can't get it done. And underneath him here comes Rice Puto. He'll be on the wrong side for the carousel. And it's pretty difficult to really work that outside through the carousel. But look what Rice Puto's doing there, Kyle. Just being a little late on his turn in, trying to be able to pick up the throttle sooner at the exit.
Piatek moves to the right here just to dissuade Soto from diving up the inside in the kink. Rice Puto's right on the back of Soto. They touch just a little bit. Soto carries speed. Rice Puto has to lift. One last run down to Canada corner. Piatek trying to defend for a podium. Here comes Soto.
Soto going to try him on the outside into Canada corner. It is going to be an absolute breaking duel. You can see Soto trying to fade over a little bit.
Boy, that was close.
Oh, how did they not touch? All 3 of them. How did they not touch? And behind them, that battle as Forrester is all over the back of Patry for that 6th spot as well. Up front, Burkhardt and Rick-Singrini are gone. Here we go, last time into turn 14 in the run up the hill. Soto trying to run, runs wide, gets into the dirt, but he carried some speed. Is he going to be able to side draft by Piatek and trying to jam in there? Comes Rice Puto. They are absolutely covered by the blanket, coming to the line. Looks like Piatek has just enough. Rice Puto will take the next spot. Then it is going to be Soto, and look how close Patry and Forrester got to them. They closed that up to 0.2 of a second as they came across the line because of all that battling. Wow, Kyle.
That was thrilling. Here's another drag race line. Schweid and Pocock. Here comes the 66. You see the weaving now, trying to dissuade the draft. I love this run to the start-finish line here at Road America. It's one of my favorites, but Pocock not quite able to steal 13th place away. Woo.
Yeah, you're right. This climb, and that's just Soto having some fun. But this climb up to the line, look at that, and an opportunistic Nicholas Rice Puto. Look at that margin right there.
He did everything right.
That's what. Yeah, he did. That's what 41 1,000s looks like.
He just needed a little more pavement on the left, and then he needed the 30 not to go with him, or with Piatek rather. Had the 30 done his own line, we would have had a three-way drag race to the start-finish line. But that was awesome.
Yeah, and then right behind him, there you can see there's Patry and Forrester making up a ton of time right there. But once again, Morgan Burkhardt just absolutely relentless. I mean, Rick Zagrini had a quicker lap, and Rice Puto actually in that one, the only guy into the 242s, but it's the consistency of Morgan Burkhardt. And, obviously on his own, Rice Puto had speed, but he could never get to the front and do anything with it. So it's Burkhardt, Rick Zagrini, and Piatek. What a great last lap for him, Kyle, up onto the podium.
Yeah, really, really strong lap there. Great racecraft by Olivier as well. When they came out of turn 14, he didn't panic. He didn't dive to the right to protect the over-under. He read what Soto was doing and stayed left. And that put Soto in the grass. There wasn't room for him out there, and that killed enough momentum that he wasn't able just to drive around him. Great racing there. Rice Puto, Soto, 4th and 5th. Then Caleb Patry and Forster. What a drive on that final lap. Didn't quite get there, Greg, but I am maybe got my crystal ball out. I think they're going to be in it in this next race.
Oh, I think so. I don't think there's any question of that. They were, I'm just looking at the times, they were quicker than anybody on the track in that last lap. So they've definitely got pace. So it's going to be fun to watch here. But and then Camden Hibbett, I think he's got more speed than he showed here. How about Jordan Butler up into 10th? Great run for Jordan into the top 10.
Yeah, Cor Schmidt, 11th place in the 172. Cam Eben, 12th in his first run here. Max Schweid, Caleb Pocock, Charles Vaccaro, the rest of your top 15. Seth Spolman rebounded to 18th place after that collision down at turn 12. Noah Jackson in the top 20 as well. And there's a look down the rest of the order. We had about 10 retirements out of the 38 starters in that race, Greg. We were expecting to see some catastrophes in the opening laps here, but now with the race under our belts, we'll see how race 2 goes here in just a couple minutes.
Yeah, and the general, the pattern we've seen is of the two, as you would expect, race 2 can often be a little bit crazier as things unfold here. We would like to, of course, take this opportunity. I just want to remind everybody, if you're just watching for the first time, you're thinking of getting involved in this, remember 2 more races in this season, which means you can throw 2 out. First through third place will all receive trophies. First place will get a Fanatec DD2 25 Newton meter direct drive wheelbase. Second place gets a Fanatec V3 inverted load cell pedal set. Third place gets a choice of a Fanatec Club Sport H-pattern sequential shifter or a 2-year paid iRacing subscription. But here's the key. If you are an FSS, a Full Send Sims admin or instructor, you're not eligible for sim hardware. And if you have received sim hardware in a calendar year, you do not get to be eligible there. So you could be outside of the top 3. You could be 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th even, and still have a shot at some of that great hardware. So do keep that in mind, folks. Keep coming. Want to remind everybody, Full Send Sims continues to offer one-on-one instructional sessions. Great instructors, 2-time champ and race winner already today, Morgan Burkhardt, Ben Beans Forrester, and Conrad Chachik are instructors. Just go to fullsendsims.com. They also have racing schools and that you can join. Free to members. You can join if you're not a member. There's just a fee for it. Next one will be coming up on the 14th of September at Daytona International Speedway, as that will be a stop that next event. That will be on Thursday night, and the race will be Tuesday. So trying to coordinate the Sims, these races, the schools, all of that with actual racing schedules here. So really some great opportunities there as well. So just so excited about this elongated season, Kyle. And I said in the open, I said, this season more than any other so far seems to be visiting the grand dames of road racing in the United States. We've had Barber, Sebring, now at Road America, VIR next Tuesday night, Daytona the next week, Lime Rock the next week, Watkins Glen after that, Road Atlanta. And then we have some fun wrapping it up at the Sebring Club Course. But all of them just tracks with so much history, legend, and pedigree.
Yeah, really exciting stuff. And while we were racing, we did get notification on the 2023 iRacing Season 4 release notes. No rain, Greg, not yet. Oh. But there are some big performance improvements coming to the simulator tomorrow. And one of my favorite additions that I'm seeing is that right now there's a limit of 8 different car models in a session, so you only have up to 8 cars in any multi-class session. That is now 12, so we can get all the new GTPs and all the GT3s and the LMP2s, all of those into one session. New audio effects that simulate wearing a helmet, which is really neat. And cool. A whole host of other things. So if you're watching live, the forums.iracing.com, you've got the full list of release notes. And there's some good stuff in there, including new foliage model that is going to be debuted at Zandvoort and now Sebring as well. We just missed Sebring here last week or a couple weeks ago. But,
does Sebring have foliage?
Well, it has their 3D grass and stuff like that is what they're talking about.
Gotcha. I know. I'm just
but sometimes it feels like it doesn't. It's the surface of the sun. But
exactly.
But new foliage
you said
and grasses
that Zandvoort now they've actually got the banking in that final corner and everything. I mean, that's such a great track, and adding that now is going to be spectacular.
It is a full rescan, and let me just read this so I don't say it wrong, but I'm fairly certain that if you own the track right now in iRacing, you will get it for free, which is a really nice freebie.
Nice.
Let me just confirm that. Tracks. Zandvoort. Are you... all right. Customers who purchased Zandvoort will automatically be granted ownership of the new version of Zandvoort. So if you owned it, you have the new one, or you will tomorrow. And
that is really nice.
That track is ancient in iRacing, so that's really cool.
Yeah, and it's so much history there. Obviously, with all the great racing in Formula One over the years.
Yep, a new damage model on 12 new vehicle models as well. So that's another big improvement, but lots more stuff on the way tomorrow. I'm sure there'll be some improvements on other things throughout the first couple weeks of the season as we get every year. And then that means that December is our rain date, as long as I don't miss that mark now. But that's what they've said. I was just getting my hopes up that we'd get rain tomorrow as a surprise, but it will be December. So
all right. Well, we'll have to wait for it, but it'll sure be fun for next year, won't it?
It really will be. I can't wait. It's going to be in the middle of our endurance series that we're running here on SimTV, the MTech Endurance Series, which is running LMP2s and GTPs and GT3s. So we'll have a couple rounds of dry, and then as soon as that rain comes out, it's going to be a torrential downpour for the rest of the season.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, real quick, can you go back to that shot we just saw showing the entrance to Billy Mitchell?
Let's see, right here.
That one. Yeah, actually, that one. Here's what we're talking about, folks. There used to be a bridge coming across there, so you were looking at a bridge abutment as you turned in. But even without it, look at that. I mean, as you are turning into it, it is absolutely blind in terms of where you go. And if you turn in late, like you normally might in that kind of a corner, you end up, you're so slow out of it because it's a much quicker corner than it looks on approach because of this. And if you turn in a little early, you can actually use, there's on the exit of that turn, there's a cut across from turn 5 that you can use to catch the car just a little bit. But this is another one of these blind approach corners that you throw a lot more speed at it than you think.
Yeah, it's a really cool corner in real life, especially. Again, this was the first track I ever got a chance to drive. Just a really thrilling turn that you just carry with so much speed through there. I'm glad the bridge abutment's gone, though.
Yeah, I watched Paul. Well, I saw two things there. I saw Paul Tracy go off the outside and slam into the barriers. in Penske IndyCar, and I also saw Mimo Gidley hit underneath the bridge and flip. So yeah, it was a good thing to get rid of the bridge, but I'm glad they didn't try and shave stuff back. I'm glad they left some of the challenge there in that corner. So anyway, moving forward.
Well, cars are warming up now for their second and final race of the evening. Again, they will start as they finished. And at the bottom of the screen, there is your starting lineup that will scroll on through. Morgan Burkhart, Jordan Rixingrini, Piatek Raisputo, your front two rows. And there's rows 3 and 4. We'll let that scroll on through as we make our way around the lap. But
let me ask you a question here.
Sure.
Very often Morgan starts on pole. The pole sitter does not decide when to go. It's when the flagger flags, right?
So iRacing's rules are you can go anytime the pace car has pulled off. So as soon as the pace car makes that turn onto pit lane, the iRacing rule is you can accelerate whenever you'd like.
Okay.
The rules here in the series state that you go on the green flag. So that's what we're waiting for. So
because Morgan just seems, when he's on pole, I don't think I've ever seen him not lead into the first turn. Maybe once or twice in 2.5 seasons now. He just seems to nail those starts.
Yeah, the one thing you have to be cautious of, and this is different now on the oval side in particular. I'll explain that in a moment. But you can't beat the leader, or you can't be ahead of the leader when that green flag flies. So if you're Jordan Rixingrini and you have your nose ahead when that green flag drops, that's a penalty. So you have to make sure that the 40 is ahead of you. Now the challenge is, if you're riding on board, you can barely see that 40 if you have a single screen, right? So you have to have him already have about a half car length advantage just to see where that other car is, and then they get that half car length advantage on the run down to turn 1. So that helps. On the oval side now, there is the NASCAR restart zone implementation, where there is a zone that the leader can accelerate in, and if they don't, then the green flag starts the race. So you can't start until that zone starts. So there is a little bit of a different rule on the ovals versus the road courses. But the biggest challenge, and the reason why that inside lane is so powerful, is that just to maintain visibility, to not beat that leader to the start-finish line, you have to kind of lay back a little bit, and that's the difference.
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, because I've just been marveling at his consistency on the starts, and the problem is Rixingrini to get in front of Morgan, he needs Nicholas Raisputo to go with him and just try and push him right around the outside. But Rixingrini, he's a teammate of Morgan,
right?
So everybody's sitting behind there. Piatek, Raisputo et al. They're going to have to get really creative at the start of this one here, I think. And we've seen Olivier Piatek there in that beautiful green OPM livery car. He's shown some real opportunistic stuff, and certainly Raisputo is willing to throw it in there. So let's see what happens here.
Yeah, it makes me think of NASCAR plate racing, where you start next to your teammate, so the leader will actually let your teammate go ahead of you just a little bit so that they can merge ahead and you can push and shove together. But nothing like that here. Here we go, Greg. Time to kick things off for race 2 of the night.
All right, they're pretty even. There's the green, and Rixingrini absolutely even on the outside. Here comes Piatek right up behind Burkhart here. Let's see if anybody can try and work the outside. Here comes Piatek. Late move down to the inside. This could shuffle things. He's not far enough along. Now he stuffs it down the inside, and that allows, it looks like, Rixingrini to sweep the outside. Was that Beans Forster? Oh. Off to the inside, and here we go. The big one in the back of the field.
Oh,
folks.
Man, that's a big crash.
Oh.
And that's what we worry about. And that is just cars tumbling, and that's what I've seen so many times here at Road America. You get through one, and then chaos. The double zero's upside down. Max Bankin.
Yeah, he sure is.
Meanwhile,
well, he flipped a number of times.
Out front,
yeah,
teammates
doing it again.
So the 72.
But I think Piatek was the one there who got Morgan a little distracted and allowed Rixingrini to go around the outside. And look at this again, Soto. He loves that wide line at 5, doesn't he?
He really does. Squares it up, but it does open him up to attack. If you widen out the entry too much,
yep,
someone will sneak up your inside. And Patry tried to do that, and then Forster storms back. But here comes Burkhart now on Rixingrini, tucks in line, but Piatek, I think, is dangerous here. I'm not sure that he's got the raw pace of Morgan Burkhart, but he might have the raw pace of Rick Singrini, and if he can get up past Morgan while Rick Singrini's leading, I think he's got a pretty strong play for this win here.
Look at that. You can see Morgan dipping the brake. He's carrying so much speed. And even through the carousel, because of the speed you roll through here, you can get a little bit of a tow. And right now, that lead group of 4 has put about a second gap back on Joshua Soto. So that's going to be something of concern here in this early going here. There's Soto, then Beans Forrester, then Patry. And then Skip Brock, Court Schmidt, Cam Evan, Caleb Pocock in that group.
Yeah, Court Schmidt up inside the top 10. That's always good to see. Caleb Pocock started pretty deep in the field tonight. He's worked his way up into 11th. Eric Howo had dramas at turn 12 earlier in the night. Oh, Schweid off course just slightly.
That was a big Schweid.
A little Schweid there on the rumble strip.
Sorry about that, dude.
I mean, you have to do it.
You got to do it every once in a while. Exactly. Look at this now. Rice Pudo getting a nice run out of the final corner, 14. And now he's got a little bit of overlap heading up the hill here. And this is not what Piatek wanted here. And he's going to have to give way. I mean, that pass might well be done, but he might get help here from Soto, who's steaming up behind him, but it's a little bit too late. And Rice Pudo into third. And Soto, I thought he might try and throw it down the inside into one. Wasn't quite close enough.
Oh, a little wide there. You saw the car dance as soon as he dropped a left side tire in the dirt. No pavement out there like you have in real life. This track laser scan is from about 2011, I believe, or 2009 rather. So it's, slide behind. So there's lacking some
stuff.
pavement.
It's Borodati right there.
That was a big slide, but he gathered it up. Tell you what, this front group.
Oh, yeah, look at Rice Pudo here.
And Soto.
Yeah, Rice Pudo does not want to let these two get. Is he going to go for a double here? He's sure going to try it. Can't get it done, but he at least gets through and puts Burkhardt back. And for Rice Pudo, that in of itself will be a small victory here. And now maybe if, that's the one thing. If you can keep Burkhardt back a little bit, let somebody now come up behind Joshua Soto who's really aggressive, maybe try and get in and bother Burkhardt a little bit. Maybe you can do something here up at the front. Rick Singrini, we've seen him. He's got pace.
Yeah, I think the dangerous thing is if you've got anybody at the front of this pack that doesn't have the raw pace to stay with the leader, even with the draft, that just allows the leader to drive away. And with no pressure, it's so much easier to just lay down nice, clean laps. If you've got someone behind you putting pressure on, like Rice Pudo does, it's a distraction. It slows you down, and it creates these splits in these packs that end up creating those different groups that we saw in the previous race. Soto wide at the kink.
And in real life, that signboard would have exploded.
It sure would have. There wouldn't be a DRS signboard back there, though.
This is true. This is true.
That's for the Formula
look at this,
series.
fanning out into look at the late move by Beans, Forrester, and Patry. He waited till the very last second and just popped to the inside. I think Patry, though, had enough roll speed, and he's going to be able to lead into Billy Mitchell, and he does. But Beans showing some really good aggressive here.
Yeah, I love Beans' onboard shot because you can see out that left side window. And just for a moment, we could see Caleb's car out there. Just to give you a perspective of what triple screens is like, it just gives you that peripheral vision that you would have in the real world without the compromise of virtual reality and the commitment that comes with it.
It's always nice to have the blimp with us.
Yes.
Giving us some of those great aerial shots. And look at Burkhardt. And again, well, I thought he was going to maybe go here, but he just gave enough of a push.
Yeah, Rice Pudo didn't actually want to get alongside Jordan Rick Singrini there, but he had enough run to do it. So he lifted and got hit from behind. Burkhardt didn't get that signal. And in real life, you'd have a hand signal. You'd stick your hand up and say, go, 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 or no, no, no. But you don't have that here in sim racing. You just got to communicate with your car's body language.
Using the chrome horn.
Or the brake lights. Those work too.
That'll do it.
And that's actually something that I do racing online often, especially on the opening lap of a race, is you just drag the brakes slightly before you're actually going to start braking, just to turn the brake lights on and make sure that the driver behind you won't just slam into you. But look how tight things are here.
Yeah, now let's watch. The 77 is Soto. Actually, he didn't run as wide a line that time. Oh, but Burkhardt running that was as close to a little bobble by him as we've seen. But it turns out he was just rolling a ton of speed, and it didn't cost him that much. But it gave Soto an opportunity to take a look anyway. Tucks immediately back in, because now for Soto, to his dismay, he's got guys named Patry and Forster just glued to his rear deck.
And Piatek fell out of that group last time by. Ooh, you see him wobble on the brakes there.
Yeah, he did.
Let's wonder if he can pull it together and run this front group back down with the help of Skip Brock Jr., or if he'll get kind of tangled and end up battling Court and others. And there's some dramas at turn 8, and it's Schweid.
Got it wrong there. That's one of those tricky downhill braking zones.
Did he get it wrong, or did somebody else?
Oh, is that the 56 of Borodati? Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, that's a close one to call, too.
Yeah. Down into
look at this,
Canada corner. Here comes Rice Budo cheating over to the right. It seems like he's had the opportunity to go by, and he has not taken it yet. So he wants to stay second here. I think he knows as soon as he goes back to the lead, he puts Rick Singrini and Burkhardt back together. Soto tried to sneak up the inside of the 40, but could not get the overlap to do it.
Do you think maybe that Rice Budo, that little edge over that he's doing, is just to make sure if Burkhardt decides to try something, he can just drift over and shut the door a little bit?
I think so, without getting called for a block. But I think where he likes where he is now better than if he was leading, because he split the teammates up. If you are leading this race, Jordan and Morgan are second and third together. Or if you drop to third, they're first and second. They're much more powerful as a duo than when they're split like this. So I think that explains why he has no rush to get to the lead. At least he's going to make a fool out of me here if he goes for it, but he will not. He lives. And it's stacking up the field behind him because everyone's got this huge run and nowhere to go with it.
And you can see that little lift to, to not have to get caught in the pass or have contact, and just that quick. And this is what's so cool about these cars. They're identical essentially, so it's all momentum. And that little breeze is suddenly a car length. But boy, did he get a run out of 3. He got absolutely hooked up out of 3. Let's see if he does, and it's going to be interesting this early for him to try and make that move, but he has shown he can get the run. There's a little bit of an assist. Does Burkhardt dive for it here?
No,
but Soto is coming in, head of steam. Soto to the inside. Burkhardt just flows so much speed around the outside. Soto has to check up. Patrick going to try it around the outside.
Yeah, the hunter becomes the hunted here.
Oh, and Patrick may have enough here to be inside at 7.
Oh man, that did not play out the way Soto wanted it to. He might lose 2 spots here if Beans Forster can cross him over. I don't think the outside's the place to be, but maybe he'll try to pin him down to the left.
Boy, Soto has been absolutely brilliant on the binders, though, hasn't he?
He has been. That's a very strong point for him. I think part of that also, these cars do have ABS. You can lean on the pedal pretty hard, but your downshift technique definitely helps, because you want to extract the performance of the engine on the downshift by kind of, downshifting right, so you're maintaining red line all the way down to where you'd shift next. But you don't want to miss that mark, because you'll blow the engine up. Look at Morgan Burkhardt now dancing on the rear bumper of Rice Budo.
Yeah, Rice Budo skating a little wide through the kink, too. And that little bit of battling, obviously, between Soto and Patry and Beans, now there's that gap appears. It's just that quick, it appears. And then just that quick now, it's gone as well, pretty much. And now Patry, having gone through, it's going to be interesting to see what he's going to be able to do with those that trio up front.
And look who's joining the club here, Skip Brock Jr. and Olivier Piatek. They have found their way back into the mix. They're within 0.3 of a second of Beans Forster, so that's close enough to get draft.
Well, you pointed out that all that little breathe at the end of the front straight keeps people coming in, but also we have seen Skip Brock over the past 2 seasons make up some significant gaps on his own. Oh, here we go. Now we've got each person has chosen a side here.
It's 2 sets of
teammates.
Does Rice
Budo let Burkhardt go around the outside? Oh, now it's really important here for Rice Budo to get to the inside, freeze Burkhardt, Don't let him carry momentum outside all the way through 3. Rixengrini may have done the job here, and here we go. They've chosen sides here. This really should favor Rixengrini and Rice-Puto, shouldn't it?
I would think so, the run that the 30 got. But look at Patry again pushing Morgan Burkhardt 2 by 2. You've chosen your dancing partner, and now it's time to tango here down the backstretch into turn 5. Which line's going to win? Now at the shove that Caleb Patry gave Burkhardt. Burkhardt's going to go to the lead here.
Oh, and nobody wants to look at that cut back by Rice-Puto in the background. And Patry still, he wants to stay in front of Rixengrini, keep those two guys apart. And, oh, it's going to be so close at the exit. Look at Soto, 3 abreast at the exit of 6 now, heading now into 7. Incredible action here.
Oh, look out.
Oh!
Soto gets tagged and goes for a slide.
Well, that's the old, whoa, and then he locks up. And then a contact with Forster as well. Soto dropping, I think that lockup, I don't think that was brakes. I think he missed a shift.
He's got steering damage, Greg. Big time steering damage.
Yeah, look at that. You can see that right front massively towed.
Turning left and going right.
Yeah. He's just going to get out of the way and punch out. Ah, what a shame.
Oh, man. Well, every time they shake the Etch-a-Sketch, they draw a picture of the 40 leading this race, Greg, because
it's incredible.
I just don't know how he does it. It doesn't matter what they do, what any other moves people make, the 40 finds his way to the front. And remember, Patry's got a title fight he's considering as well. I thought if he could get to second, he'd be in a really strong place. But these two teammates together is a hard pairing to split up.
Well, now the teammates Patry and Rice-Puto have got to get creative and do something, don't they? As we're 6.5 minutes in, that's not many laps left in this one.
3. Sorry, 2. No, 3. I was right.
After
3.
this one? 3 after this one?
Yep, lap 6 of 8 next time by.
And look at that, Skip Brock and Piatek with everything that was going on. It's now a 7-car train, essentially, for the win, for the podium, for the top 5. And this is going to be fascinating. And Patry is really showing some speed here. Look at this, Rixengrini. Jordan Rixengrini's going, I've had enough of my teammate winning, apparently.
And it'll bring Patry to the inside with them. Patry bails out, but Rixengrini takes the lead away. And here comes the crossover from Morgan. Rixengrini's off.
Yes! Beautiful save. And Burkhardt has to give a big swerve, and that might actually keep Rixengrini in the mix here. And trying to square them both up, Patry gets a nice run out of 3, and he's got Rice-Puto right with him. There goes Patry, has that little bit of momentum. Rice-Puto going right with him. Here we go. Yeah, it is going to be a breaking duel downhill into 5, Kyle.
This is the teammate pairing that I was expecting to see. Two pushing 2, but Rixengrini again goes 3 wide in the run down to turn 5. How's this going to pan out?
Rixengrini sweeps the outside, but that allows Patry to slip in between here. That was close, Kyle.
That they did touch. The 998 and the 30 made a little bit of contact. I think the 108 was involved in that as well. It's going to shuffle.
Look who's up into 4th.
Where did he come from?
It's opportunistic when those guys were messing about. Beans found a hole and slipped through.
Well, Rice-Puto tries to go down the inside again, but doesn't have the overlap. That was respectful.
Yeah, it was.
Had an opportunity to jam it down the inside, and he didn't do it.
You know, the other thing I love about this onboard shot with Beans is not only do you see out the window, you see in that mirror.
Yeah.
And so you can see the car dancing in there and his exact perspective on do I have room to turn or not. And in that defense now against Rice-Puto, boom, there's that little margin again. So now Beans is going to have to do this on his own. Look at that trio just drafting and sideways through the kink. That's just impressive stuff. And remember now, I mean, Burkhardt's driving through 3 windshields.
Can we remember that? I know the internet travels at the speed of light, but these people are all in different states, all across North America, and they're racing literally so close that you couldn't slide a virtual piece of paper between them, and somehow this is working beautifully. I mean, you have to give iRacing some credit for that, right? I mean,
that's a really good point, man. It is. I mean, you know, the racing's great, but how it's happening is just spectacular.
Look at this run.
Yeah, Patry tried to turn in a little bit early there, and it may have cost him just that little bit of momentum.
Now this big run, what do? Do you sit on it or do you take it?
Well, you've talked about it before here. Now we've got 2 laps to go. It's a tough call because you talked about it. You want to split these teammates, especially with Morgan behind you, I would think.
I mean, you're a sitting
again,
duck.
hope that, say, Beans comes up and starts giving Morgan a little bit of a workover here.
I mean, you're a sitting duck out front, that's for sure. But
yes,
in second, the danger is if you have to battle the guy in third, then the guy in first is gone. So would you rather risk that and not have a shot at the win, or have a shot at the win and just play defense as hard as you can? There's really no winning solution here, especially with a guy like Morgan Burkhardt that just seems to always flip the coin heads up every single time.
Exactly. Takes that little bit of a peek, and I think he was trying to get Caleb to shift right just a little bit. Caleb did not bite at all. Ooh, Caleb deep on the brakes. How did he not get into the back of Rick Segrini?
He stood that car up on its nose to avoid from running into the back of the 108.
And now we've got Rice Puto is right back on the pipes of Forster as well. And then Brock and Piatek just trailing here. They're looking maybe to pick up scraps if this thing goes pineapple-shaped here.
Well, it did last season. If you remember, there was a crash on the last lap involving Rice Puto and Morgan Burkhardt. And who are 2 of the top 5?
There you go. Yeah, exactly. All right, through the carousel. Rick Segrini, a little wider line through there. Patry right up on the back. Turn into the kink. Look at how close that wall is over there on the right, folks. Look at this.
There's a push.
And nobody. Oh,
here's Beans.
Beans. He's deciding, well, I'll try something around the outside here.
Oh, Burkhardt.
Yeah.
He tried to go out the inside, but.
Oh, and look at that move by Rice Puto. Dives down underneath Forster. And Beans trying that move, and Rice Puto picked his pocket. And now here comes up Skip Brock, too.
Look at the bottom right corner. You see that 32 car in the left side, and the Piatek machine in the mirror.
It's a great shot.
Coming to the white flag.
Last lap. Oh, boy.
4 miles.
Yeah, 4 miles. And with these 3 cars drafting, Rice Puto might get a nice little tow. Oh, and some traffic as well. Looks like he's going to try and stay, let's hope, way out of the way here. Rice Puto may have lost touch here.
He's about half a second back. It's going to take some doing to run him back down, but these front 3, they're just sitting on these runs. So that should help Rice Puto close that gap back up. But this is where the chess match starts. You got to think 6 moves ahead or you're going to lose this game.
You bet. And you can see Forster has dropped off just a little bit. In fact, Brock now and Piatek are maybe catching him. And it's Wozencraft, the car that's up front here.
73, that's Buttermore.
Buttermore, excuse me. And he's got to be, if he's looking in his mirrors, he's got to be going, where do I go?
Oh, boy.
Oh,
and we're going to do a little side by
showing
side.
the nose.
Here we go.
Just like that, Burkhardt goes with his teammate.
Into turn 5.
I wonder if Patry was thinking maybe if we catch him quick enough, I can use him as a pick. Patry going to try and keep it around the outside here. Does.
This is
I think you watch Burkhardt do that a couple of times and carry some speed, but now the pick might end up being Patry getting picked by Buttermore, and he tucks back in.
Well, Rice Puto saved Patry there because he was up the inside of Burkhardt. Burkhardt had to defend behind him. Piatek and Beans Forster banging doors. That got dicey.
Yeah, Beans caught that curb. Yeah, this is right there. Patry and Burkhardt had tighter lines through, and Burkhardt and Piatek still leaning on each other a little bit.
Patry having some internet problems. Not a good time for that, but
no.
He's got one more shot. It's going to come at 14. I don't think you can make the move in 12 unless you're really brave, because then you have to play defense on the run up the front straight. But he's in position to make this move. But Burkhardt is the wild card here because he's not. Oh, look at this. Run to the left.
Interesting. Rick Segrini went to protect and lost some momentum, and Patry is through. Now the question is Burkhardt going to clear Rixengrini as well? Rixengrini, you know, is going to go deep into Canada.
Oh, they're going to touch.
Oh, Burkhardt off into the grass. Big lurid slide. Gathers it up, but drops him to fourth now behind Rice Pudo, Kyle.
0.3 of a second is all it is up to Patry, and Rice Pudo's got to run here on Rixengrini. Hopefully Caleb's internet hangs on. He's got one more corner to go.
Here we go, through 14, up the hill, every bit of the road. Oh, Patry again winks out.
Oh,
he's gone. There he is.
Oh, man.
And he's out again. This is so close. He's got to be there when they cross the line, doesn't he?
Yes, he's just got to, it can't lose connection. I think he got it if he scored there. Was he?
He did. Well,
yes.
Oh. Yes. Oh, how gut-wrenching was that? Rixengrini gets second, Rice Pudo third, Burkhardt fourth, and Skip Brock up into the top 5. Great run. Here's this good battle by Caleb Pocock and Camden Hibbett. This is for 12th coming up the hill. Going to be a drag race, I think. Maybe Pocock. No, Camden on the outside, but drops his tires a little bit. That'll scrub some speed. Oh.
Man, that was good. Yeah, Patry's internet almost, I mean, that is about the upper limit of what iRacing will allow, and then much beyond that, it'll boot you. So he got very lucky that race ended when it did. I don't even think he's going to make it through the cooldown lap.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wild.
It just keeps popping in and out here. Top 3 covered by half a second. And Caleb, Mr. Invisible on occasion. It's about a quarter of a second his win. And then it was a little bit of a gap back to Morgan after that off, as you can see there. And then Skip Brock. What a drive by Skip. Up into the top 5.
Great race
Piatek,
there.
Yeah, it was. It was. And hey, always we got to give a shout out to Court. Top 8 for Court.
Yeah, great run there. And Beans Forster, Olivier Piatek, they were in the mix. Just couldn't quite get to where they needed to be to really be effective at the end there. Dean Dibdahl, top 10 of the 99. Great run there. Jordan Butler, his second top 10 of the night. And then looking down the rest of the order, the big disappointment in this race is Joshua Soto down to 26th with that contact and damage. That'll hurt in the points, despite him having a really strong night pace-wise.
Oh, he was there, and had he not had the incident, I mean, he was going to be a player in that battle, and we know Joshua is one of those guys who's got that little bit of extra aggression in him and willing to mix it up. So, sometimes that'll work against you, but sometimes it pays big dividends, and he is definitely going to be back. And Piatek and Forrester could have been more involved in that, but I think it was through 7, Beans got that inside curb a little bit hard because Piatek was right there, and it bounced him into them, and then they bounced off each other through 8, and that just created the gap. It was just too much to overcome.
Yeah, looking down the rest of the order, big list of outs, and we'll go back and we'll have another look at that incident at the opening corner. That was just a big mess, but that's what happens sometimes. I've seen that happen in the runoffs. I've seen that happen in SRO and IMSA. It's just an area that is an underrated challenge because you leave turn 1 and everything's gone smooth, and then you get really to the exit of it and it all goes south from there. But here's a look at it again. Watch Cam Eben on the left. That's that white and red car on the very far left. Had a great start.
Yeah,
I think he's going to drop his tires here on the left, and I think that's what's going to trigger this hole right here. Follows the 32 into the grass. And that's what sets this whole chain off. And then the 132 goes around, and it didn't get that's Camden Hibbett, actually.
Camden.
That's what stacks up everybody else.
And then watch that. There, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 tumbles by my count.
I would have said that this couldn't happen in real life, and then I just watched the Daytona race. Holy cow, that thing just went for a ride.
He hit that barrier, and it went up sideways, and then Jorge Ortiz had nowhere to go and clocked him and just launched him. That was incredible.
Right on board.
And then bang, there was the hit.
Ground sky, ground sky, ground sky. When's it over? Upside down. So all that aside, we've got a couple of our podium finishers, but before we talk to them, I do want to talk to Olivier Piatek, driver number 62, who came home in 6th place. Olivier, that was a pretty frantic evening, but you had some great battles there up in the top 5 and even scored a podium in that first race. Take us through your night and battling, especially in the first race.
Yes, sir. So, like, race 1, I just have the ability to be with the lead pack and just stayed with them and kind of let it come to me. Last lap, I saw the opportunity to make it down the inside of Soto and won Fording. Got the position. I mean, it was a great battle. He left me lots of room, and I think it was just a great, respectful race. Race 2, I made the mistake of opening up too much, and it gave me a 1.5 second slowdown. So, I had to drop pretty much out of the lead pack with that one. But I was able to work together with my teammate Skip Rock, and we got back up to the front.
Was that over in turn 5 where you opened it up too much?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Soto tried to pass me, and I really haven't had any practice for this race, to be honest. And I didn't know you guys slow down for that, so just a little rookie mistake there.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, in that first race, you talked about, making a nice opportunistic move, but it was a thing of beauty. I mean, you read what was unfolding just exceptionally well. And, yeah, it was super clean, and I love to see that really respectful racing where you give each other just enough room. But, man, you pounced. It was sweet. Yeah, I come from a karting background, and I've just moved to Spec Miata in real life. And, I mean, in karting, you have to be really opportunistic and, kind of mixed both in that last lap and got my way into the lead. Third, I'm sorry. Yeah, it worked great. And then obviously in that second race with the battling going on, you guys hauled yourselves right back up into the thick of it, but it's a little bit too far back. Love watching you race, Olivier. So glad you're running with us in this championship, man. Thank you. See you soon. All right.
Appreciate it. Move on now to, let's see, Nicholas Rice-Spudo brings it home in third in this one. Nicholas, there were some hard-fought teammate battles there. Caleb Patry, Jordan, and Morgan really just slicing and dicing really for the entire race. But coming down to the last couple laps, we were talking about how it turns into a chess match. And every time you shake that Etch-a-Sketch, it seems like Morgan would find himself on the upper side of everything. So how much were you racing against the drivers around you, and how much was everyone racing against Morgan there in those closing laps?
Everyone was racing against Morgan. But we were going 3 wide into down that long straight, and I just didn't go to second gear, and I lost like 4 spots, so I had to crawl my way back. But it's hard to win if you're not in first and second on the last lap. So
yeah, I thought I heard a little something with that shift, and man, I mean, you dug deep, came right back after it, fought your way back into it. And what a battle those last few laps here, both races certainly, but in this last one where you were able to get to third and fend off Burkhardt, it was just fabulous racing. I mean, that's got to be so much fun to be in it, let alone us talking about it.
It was a blast, and the caliber of driver in this series is really good. To be going in 3 wide into corners and always making it is fantastic racing.
Yeah, it really is. It's spectacular. And, Kyle made the point that, you guys are all over the country and people from around the world, and you're racing that close and still able to give each other room and race with respect. It is pretty spectacular stuff, Nicholas. Hey, I'll tell you what, man, a treat watching you run as always.
All right. Thanks, guys.
You bet.
Looking forward to watching this one.
It was a fun one.
You bet.
All right, let's move on now to Jordan Rickson-Greeny. Came home in second a couple of times tonight, battling with your teammate. Things got a little bit 1v1 there in the last couple of corners. You side by side with Morgan coming back to the checkers. We didn't get a chance to talk to you last week, Jordan, but this week you were part of the main show. Couple podiums and some really fun racing to watch. Take us through your battle there with your teammate in both race 1 and race 2.
To be honest with you, in race 1, we were kind of just pacing each other. Soto and I think, I forget, Oliver, they were running a good race and caught up to us. My plan was just to stay behind Morgan until the last lap, and once Soto came up, he got a little aggressive, I think a little early on, and made that gap to Morgan, and we just couldn't reel him back in time. And then race 2, I was like, since that happened, I'm just going to try and get out in front right off the bat, since I felt like I had pace with Morgan. And I got the job done. Things got a little hectic off the start going down to turn 1. Was where I wanted to be most of the race, and then Morgan bumped Caleb down the back stretch, and then we kind of got into it leaving. I was racing in Sebring this past weekend in real life in Spec Miata, and I got hit by a car. It was wheel-to-wheel contact, and I almost broke my thumb, so I was kind of driving with one hand tonight. So I ran a little wide a couple of times, and unfortunately for Morgan, it just happened to be at one of those times he was side by side with me.
Wow, well, that really speaks volumes. If you're running one-handed and having the kind of race you were doing, even if you had that little bobble. But in that second race, Kyle was talking about in that first race, looked like you guys, like you said, were just pacing it. In that second race, I made the comment, and if you watch it back, you'll hear it when I said, I think Jordan's tired of watching his teammate win. And it just seemed like you were absolutely determined to get to the front and lead this thing and try and get somebody else between you two to help you out.
I'd say you hit that one right on the head. That was exactly the plan.
Well, I'll tell you what. I know you ended up third, but still in your mirror I was Morgan. So part of that plan came good, and it was a good podium, and it was a blast to watch and call, man. Thanks.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate it. Thank you, Kyle.
Of course, Jordan. Thanks for talking. All right, let's move on now to Caleb Patry, who was in the mix, and you won that last race. Man, I didn't know if you could tell that you were blinking, but on my end you were blinking, Caleb, but it was making me nervous because you were blinking out so much that I wasn't even sure you're going to cross the line and be scored. But you did it. You made it. Take us through your battle there in defeating the two teammates that you had to take to it.
Oh, I was well aware of my blinking. Everybody on Discord was telling me I was flashing so bad and that they couldn't see me and that they weren't going to work with me because they couldn't see my car. But yeah, that second race was a lot of fun. We had that scrap with like 5 or 6 of us, and I knew it was going to be tough getting up into the top 3 with Morgan and Jordan, the two teammates there. So I knew it was kind of going to be a battle of the teammates. Honestly, I just did what I could to move forward and try to be in first or second by like 2 laps to go. I felt like that would have given me a great opportunity or the best chance at the win. And yeah, that last lap was fun. Awesome battle there with Jordan. He and I duked it out through several corners that final lap, and I was able to edge away with the win.
Yeah, it was absolutely awesome. And I've got to ask you, did you feel at some point in that race, did you go, you know what, I've got the pace to do this, just then got after it a little bit? Because it seemed like you just became really decisive in the latter half of the race.
I mean, it was kind of hard to tell. This track is definitely very draft dominant, but it is my home track, so I've turned quite a few laps here, both in virtual world and real life, so I knew I had pace. It was just a matter of trying to figure out when could I go or when should I hold, since even if I got around them a few laps before, the draft would have kept them there. So,
well, I mean, it was just some absolutely stellar driving, and obviously we were talking about it. You came in here 7 points behind Morgan for the season, and this win is a biggie, and you had to fight for it, and man, was it fun to watch. Thanks for putting on an absolutely superb show.
Thank you. Yeah, it was hard, but it was fun, and glad we could all put on a show for you guys.
I got to tell you, Kyle made a mention of this. There were times you guys running 3 cars absolutely nose to tail, as he said, not enough room for a virtual piece of paper between each of you through the kinks, drifting it, and you guys just didn't miss a beat. It's just incredible to watch you guys run.
Yeah, I kind of scared myself a little bit with how close I was following at times. There were even a couple times where I think we went 2 or 3 wide through a few corners and all were touching, and we still somehow managed to hold on to that. So
yeah, I mean,
it was great. It was fun.
Yeah, driving through all those windshields and making it work at those kind of speeds, just great stuff. Congratulations on a well-earned win, man.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Caleb. Moving on now to Morgan Burkhardt, who was tough to beat, but he was beaten in that second race. Morgan, tonight, some really entertaining racing. The first race, you just did a good job of keeping everyone on the offense, but then race 2, you were the one on offense there and just had a little bit of a scrub there with Jordan in the last couple moments, ended up P4. So your thoughts on tonight and stacking up another win and another top 5 to move forward in the points?
Yeah, no, tonight was very fun. I got pretty lucky in the first race to kind of check out that I could keep it between 0.3 and 0.6 of a second, and they weren't really in striking distance for very long. And then I knew as soon as we got down to like the latter half of the race, last 3 laps, last 2 laps, if I could keep it 5/10, 6/10, if I could keep a little bit of gas in the tank so that I could start to push when everybody else has been trying to push real hard throughout the race, if I can keep myself kind of just cruising and on offense a little bit, and then everybody else is trying to push really hard on offense, burning up their tires, that I can have a little bit in the tank in the last couple laps and just push real hard. And then as soon as Josh, I think it was Josh Soto, made a move on Jordan, I was able to kind of just like push really hard and then get a comfortable lead and kind of cruise away from there. But race 2, I did not have that luxury. Kind of got stuck back second, third, fourth for most of the race. But it was a good experience trying to figure out who was going to be where. I had planned to make the move going down into 5 on the last lap, but Jordan left the car to the left just long enough that I could have made a move. I could have made a bonsai dive and made it stick, but I didn't. The chances of it going right weren't big enough for me to just lick the stamp and send it. So had to wait a little longer, and then in hindsight, probably should have either pushed Jordan or stuck it 3 wide and maybe put some tires in the dirt going into Canada Corner. But yeah, that's just a racing incident, you know. Old tires going through Canada Corner as fast as we can on the last lap. It's bound to happen. It wasn't a huge touch, so it kind of just happens. So yeah, it was all in all real fun racing tonight.
I got to ask you on that second start. I think it was Soto got a really good launch, came up the inside a little bit, and Jordan was trying to sweep around the outside of you at that point. Did I think it was Soto on the inside? Did that kind of, cause you to pause just a little bit? And is that what let Jordan sweep through on you?
Yeah, and I think memory serves, I think it was Olivier Piatek.
Oh yes, it was Olivier. Yep.
Yeah, right, coming up the inside.
Yep.
And I saw it coming, and I was just like, I could go in deep, but I didn't want to get into Jordan because he's not got a whole lot of room. The wall really comes up pretty sharp on the outside of 1, so if you go off and in a hurry, it's hard to bring it back on. And if you do bring it back on, you're usually sideways in front of the whole group of cars. So I was gonna let Jordan go and then try and just figure it out with Piatek, but he ended up braking a lot harder than I anticipated, and he kind of backed out of it at the last minute. So we ended up only going 2 wide through the corner, and then just kind of went single file from there.
Yeah. And I, because I'd been speculating that, for the second race, somebody had to, in between races, I was talking about how, metronomically effective you are on the starts when you're on pole. And I said, I think somebody's got to try and get through on them. And, that's what happened. And I was kind of curious about that. Last thing, I assume while you're in the interview, waiting to come on here, you're listening. You heard a couple of people say, yeah, everybody's racing Morgan now. Everybody's ganging up on Morgan. I assume you take that as a badge of honor, don't you?
Oh, I definitely do. It means I'm doing something right driving. So
absolutely.
It feels really good that everybody's, afterwards, it feels really good that everybody's racing against me. But during, I really noticed it tonight where if I popped out, I might get somebody to go with me. So I have to drive a lot differently when I'm on offense. Instead of just running out front, I really have to plan my moves and make it it's like approaching a business. You have to make it anticipating for the guy behind you if he wants to go, because his willingness to go and push me to the front is a lot less than it used to be.
Well, you know what? That's why I call racing high-speed chess. And when you're playing that board alone, you got to be really creative with it. And again, great run in that first race to another win. And man, I'll tell you, it was such. Even though you were fourth, I hope it was a fun race. The second one, and if you watch it, I think you're going to enjoy the call because you guys made it insanely cool.
Oh yeah, no, I watch all the races right after. They're always really fun to watch. You guys make it really. I'm struggling to find a word other than fun.
We'll go with fun.
I'll go with fun.
We'll go with fun.
That.
Yeah,
fun's good.
They're riveting. They're really riveting to watch. There you go.
Ooh, he dug it out. Well done.
I did.
All right, Morgan. Thanks, man. Great stuff.
Thank you. I'll see you next week.
You bet.
All right, Greg. Hey, Road America never disappoints. It always puts on a heck of a show, and tonight was no exception. The long straightaways here, the big braking zones, the pack racing you get, it's just a blast.
Yeah, I mean, the facility, the track itself is just absolutely spectacular. And then you come here and race, whether it's real life, whether it's virtual. As you said, it's just a track that tends to put on phenomenal racing. Lived up to it again, and spectacular. But you know what? I'm really intrigued about the next one coming up next Tuesday night, Virginia International Raceway. Obviously, Paul Newman said if there's a heaven on earth, it must be VIR. And that place is pretty amazing as well. Can't wait to see how these cars work there.
I didn't believe him until I went this year, and I go, okay, I know what he's talking about now. I love that place.
Bingo, yeah.
Such a fast-flowing racetrack. It's narrow, and it will penalize you as much. Even though the walls aren't all that close, you'll find them. I guarantee you. The track slopes away. It's just a huge challenge. It should be a lot of fun, Greg. But we'll wrap things up here from Road America. And Greg, VIR next week, and then after that we go to Daytona, and then we go completely opposite, Lime Rock Park, tight, twisty bull ring, Watkins Glen, Road Atlanta, and then Sebring Club Course to round it all out for the season.
Yeah, Watkins Glen running the Cup course, so avoiding the boot. So talk about flowing speed and momentum there. It's going to be a banner year, or at least this season is, for the Full Send Sims Esports iRacing Spec Miata Season 3 Championship. And we're so glad all of you that are tuning in are along for the ride with us here. It is so much fun. Big thank you to Finney and DeCuna, and of course to Kyle Heyer for all your great work. Kyle, appreciate it so much. I'm Greg Creamer. Thanks for joining us here from Road America. We'll see you next week at Virginia International Raceway. Until then, take care, everybody.